Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shanan Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fann, the Preacher Man.
Well, welcome again to another edition of Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and Big Papa. And Big Papa is here, sitting in the woods. Big Papa, you in the woods?
And let me tell you something. The militia and all them folk come in town, this is where you want to be. I just came out here to scout me a place to be when all the militia come into Fulton County on next week.
Well, listen, we're going to be talking all about, I hope they don't come. I hope they don't come, but if they come...
Well, that's right. I scouted a place for you. You're over there by the bush, by the tree.
Well, I think if they come, that the Fulton County Police Department, Fulton County Sheriff Department, the Georgia State Patrol, the Henry County Sheriff Department, and Rockdale County Sheriff Department, all these departments with their mutual agreement, they'll come in and make sure that we're safe. All right? How about that?
That's what they said. That's what they said on January the 6th at the Capitol. Some trust in silver and gold, others trust in the sheriff and the police and all them. I'm trusting in finding this spot out here in the woods, and I got a spot for you over there by the bush, by the tree.
I don't think so. I'll be good. I'll be good. I'm gonna stay with the Lord. I'll be good. Listen, but we got a great program
Lord's right
tonight.
here with me.
Shannon, you didn't read what I sent you. That I sent you that we have been. Our program is now being aired on another network, and they chose us because they said they like the content of our program, and they're going to be utilizing it and sharing it with other individuals. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to slip over here, Shannon, and I'll just I sent it to you as an email. I wanted you to read it, and I can't find it now. But I'll find it before we off. But
Okay.
I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that other people are seeing what we're doing and want to put us in the loop with them and share what we're doing with others and giving us a broader viewing audience. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm very thankful for them for choosing us to be a part of it.
Very much so.
Do you see it on your on yours? Because I sent it to you, and
I don't. But out
I
here
got
in
so
these
many
woods, I
emails
don't.
that come in as so much, and I don't really.
Why don't you do me a favor and just read it to me? Because I don't want to mess up our connection out here in these woods.
Okay, I don't. I can't
I'm
find
deep
it
in
right
the
now,
woods.
but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it some other time. But I'm glad to know that they selected us to be a part of their network and platform, and it's absolutely free for us. And they felt our program met the quality that they want to have on their network. They want to put us out there like that on their network.
That's
I'm grateful
awesome.
for that.
That's called favor, isn't it?
Well, hey, listen, when you got people like Shanan E. Jones on the program and Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, you can't do nothing but, because it ain't nothing but what? Straight
Straight
talk.
talk.
Hey, we got a
Straight
lot of
talk.
straight talk tonight to do today, man. I tell you, because the conviction has come down here in Georgia, in Florida, in Fulton County, in particular in Fulton County, with D.A. Fann was. And
Well, don't you said a conviction. Don't say the conviction.
not conviction. I mean the indictment. The indictment.
Indictment.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the correction. But I'm looking
Yes,
for the
sir.
conviction. I'm looking for the conviction. Okay, I'm speaking. I'm preaching a prophetic word. Conviction. It's a prophetic word. Okay. All right. 19 of them. All 19 of them. But anyway, we're gonna be talking about that on the other side and other things. You just don't go nowhere. You stay right there. Shannon and I'll be back with you right after Miss C. And this week Miss C behaved herself.
Hi, Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast or more. Hey, Bishop Greg. Hey, Pastor Shannon. Hope things are going well for you all, and also to our viewers. I have a few nuggets of information I want to share with you. New Hope Baptist Church of Whitesburg, Georgia celebrates the first pastoral anniversary of Reverend J.D. Flint. It's going to happen August 27th at 1 p.m. New Hope Baptist is located at 148 McIntosh Street in Whitesburg, Georgia. Evangelist Lorraine J. White is going to be guest speaker. A Taste of South Fulton, celebrating Purple Heart Day and World Senior Day, will be held August 25th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. at Burdette Park, 2945 Burdette Road in College Park. Bring your lawn chairs so you can enjoy all the festivities they have going on. They're calling it Friday Night Live. There's going to be crafts and vendors and artists, a kids zone, and games and prizes and food. It's going to be hosted by Michelle Taylor Willis, along with ringmaster Casual Cal. Y'all remember, us older heads probably remember Casual Cal from the radio a long time ago. And so he's going to be ringmaster. Now, you want to register, so you need to go online to The Taste of Soul Food. That's the short for South Fulton. That's The Taste of SOFU.com to register and get your tickets. But it's all free, so don't worry about having to pay anything. Isn't it nice? You can go out there and just enjoy all of the festivities that are going to be going on for free. Okay, listen, Straight Talk News sends condolences to the family and church members of Reverend Hebrew McDonald. He passed recently. He also recently just celebrated his 47th pastoral anniversary. He was a customer of the radio station long years ago, and he was a good friend to all of us. So just want to send condolences and let you know that we were thinking of you, to his church family and his family. All right, now listen, I'd like for you to do 4 things for me. Would you? I want you to subscribe. I want you to like us, and you'll see those little buttons right there on the front of your screen. Also, I want you to leave a comment. Let us know how we're doing. And then, number 4, I want you to share us. Don't keep Straight Talk News to yourself. Let everybody know about Straight Talk News, because we're doing great things at Straight Talk News. We're bringing you information, at least Bishop Greg and Pastor Shanan, they're bringing you the news of what's happening around the world and keeping you informed. So tell everybody about Straight Talk News, okay? And listen, we're going to see you right back here next time. And in the meantime, and in between time, may the Lord God bless you real good. Bye now.
Well, welcome back to Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and Shanan E. Jones. And as we go to the second segment after Miss C, and thank you, Miss C, for doing a fantastic job with news and information. And our condolences definitely go out to Reverend McDonald and his Hebrew McDonald and his family, and the loss of Reverend Hebrew McDonald. And don't forget about Pastor Joe Flint, who's having his anniversary, and South Fulton Taste of South Fulton this week, District 4. So, hey, just join in. Let's have some fun. Let's have a good time, and let's enjoy life while we can, right? Because Shannon's saying that the militia's coming.
The militia's coming. Let's remember Pastor T. DeWitt Smith, the homegoing of his lovely wife.
Right. Let's keep Pastor Smith in prayer in the loss of his wife, and certainly want to do that as my pastor. Let's keep him in prayer and keep him encouraged in these times of sadness. Earth has no sorrow that heaven cannot and will not heal. We want to just say a happy birthday also to the Reverend Charles Nesbitt, the pastor of Providence Baptist Church in College Park, Georgia. Happy birthday to you, Pastor Nesbitt, and many more return to this blessed day. Well, Shannon, let's talk about, the other night was a long, the other day was a long day. People were looking for the indictment to come down on the next day, which would have been Tuesday, but it came down on Monday. And the RICO charges that DA Funny Willis, some people can't pronounce their name, pronounce her name rather, but her name is Funny Willis, not Fanny Willis,
Right.
it's Funny Willis. But she and her staff worked tirelessly for 2 years, to bring this to fruition. And hats off to her and her staff and to all that's a part of it. But one thing that she did say, she said everybody's innocent until proven guilty. It's her job to prove that they broke the law. And of course, and it is a racketeering charge, and that they did conspire to overthrow the election here in Georgia, and so that's her job and her team's job, and we're looking forward to see how that's going to come out. And the Judge Scott, the new judge, young guy, only been on the bench 6 months, that's going to be hearing the case, and already people are saying, because he worked for Funny when he was in the DA's office. He was worked for the governor and the governor's on the governor's staff. He was a former U.S. attorney, so he's qualified to be a lawyer. To be a judge. But they're already saying it's tainted because of the fact that he worked for Funny. Now, it's amazing about this stuff, Shannon. Let's be for real. Now, when it was Judge Cannon in Florida, right? They wasn't saying that it was tainted because Trump appointed her. The other side, because it was an appointee of Trump, and they were so happy because she was going to do his bidding. But now that you have this judge and this DA, which, by the way, the judge is a Republican and a conservative Republican. So you have him and you have Judge Cannon, but what's the difference? The Judge Cannon didn't recuse herself. You want him to recuse himself because he worked for Funny? Really? So I'm just saying that, that we don't live in a perfect world, and you're not going to find the perfect fix for anything. But we're looking for justice. We're looking for the right thing to come out. And someone said this, Shannon, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Someone said this. They said, if Donald Trump was really innocent and he has 4 indictments, he would not be sitting around waiting. He would be saying, I want to hurry up and get this stuff behind me because I haven't done anything wrong. Let's go ahead and prove my innocence so I can clean the straight slate. And so when I run, people will know I didn't do anything. He would be trying to, because he's entitled to what? A speedy trial. But every time he's indicted, he throws up things to delay the trial. So, what do you think about that? What's your opinion on that? I know you got one sitting over there in the woods.
Opinion on which part of what you said?
On the part of Donald Trump not wanting to keep delaying trial after trial after trial and not wanting a speedy trial to clear his name, to get a name clearing part of it. And then the other part in terms of what I talked about, but the last part in particular.
Because he wants to be elected president and pardon himself.
Because he wants to be elected president? That's what you're saying?
Because he wants to be elected president, he wants to pardon himself. That's why he's delaying and pushing things off.
So basically what you're saying is he may not be innocent, so he can go ahead and get to be president so he can pardon himself. That's why he's delaying.
That's what the legal minds seem to be thinking that he's attempting to do. I'm not a lawyer, but if I felt that, for instance, let me read something to you that Donald Trump put out right after this is from the Wall Street Journal, Wednesday, August the 16th. Right after the indictment, they did a fundraiser. They sent out a fundraising email, and it says here, quote, if these illegal persecutions succeed, if they're allowed to set fire to the law, then it will not end with me. They'll come for you. Read a Trump fundraising email sent Monday night, moments after the 18 alleged co-conspirators were charged in the Fulton County, Georgia, racketeering and other alleged crimes in pursuit of overturning Joe Biden's 2020 victory in the state of Georgia. So if the strategy or the argument is that people are weaponizing legal departments, the DA's department, the Justice Department, and that it's not legal, and that's the narrative that Trump is pushing, and that Giuliani, who pioneered, by the way, the RICO charge. I mean, he took down the New York Mafia with RICO, so he knows a thing or two about it at a very high level. So if that is the argument, that's the strategy, then I'm going to keep pushing it because I'm 40 points ahead, and I'm raising money. And if I feel that these people are really weaponizing the law against me, whether he knows the truth or not, I'm sure he does, his own truth, but that they're weaponizing the law against me, then it's in my best interest to keep pushing it and running because I can pardon it. But if I succumb to them, then I'll probably die in jail.
So what you're saying is what you're saying. And what you're saying makes some sense. But the reality, if we was to look at it from a real perspective, if he was innocent, I know most people who know that they haven't done anything wrong, they want to have a speedy trial, hurry up and clear their name, and put that behind them so they can move forward. With this country being the way that it is, and when you look at the percentage of the people that's for Biden, for Trump, rather, that in the Republican Party, but when you look at people in general across the nation that's not for Trump, that do believe that he's guilty of an infraction, they're not buying into this narrative that they're weaponized, they're doing this and they're doing this and they're doing this to get Donald Trump. People are more concerned about, I am, I'm sure you are, gas prices, grocery prices, the cost of tuition for schools, those things that hit people's pocketbook. Those are the things that people are concerned about. They're not concerned about Trump and his innocence or his guilt, but they know that something has to be there because too much has been said and too much has been done. And a lot of this he brought on himself, Shannon, you have to admit it. I mean, when he took those classified documents to Mar-a-Lago, I mean, he brought that on himself. When he made that phone call to Rassenberg, he brought that on himself. I mean, those are things that he brought on himself. He would never be in this fix or situation if he had not thought he was the Don, the real Don, right? He brought these things on himself. So, but for those of us who concerned about our pocketbooks, we're not thinking about Donald Trump, and we're thinking about what is the message that's going to be helping the American people in times like these, during financial crisis that we're dealing with, coming out of a pandemic. Where is it when you go in the grocery store, everything is high. Eggs high, everything high, bread high, everything is high. Stop at the gas pump, almost $4 a gallon for gas. High premium gas is $4 a gallon. I mean, so everything is high. What's going to happen to help us, the American people, in terms of being able to survive financially and provide for our families and make sure that our families have a place to stay And back to the American dream. What was the American dream? What? Home, car, good education. I mean, that was the dream. That's why people love this country, because we look and strive to have those kind of things. Now, people who have lost their homes, legacy residents that have lost their homes, who worked hard to save and to struggle to buy their homes and pay for their homes and keep their homes in good repair. But now they're struggling, they're suffering. So, I mean, that's what people are looking for. I am, and I know there are many others that are too.
Well, you're saying now they're struggling under a Democratic administration. But I think that you just need to look no further than a Marjorie Taylor Greene-esque person to know that there are people, about 45% of the Republican base and a large swath of the electorate, including independents, and about 12, a certain percentage of moderate Democrats that that are in agreement with a Trump, that they actually do believe that there was some kind of covert actions going on around the election, and they don't trust the government, and they don't trust the government to do the various things that you stated that the government should be doing. Listen, I think that's an intelligent argument. I certainly don't wake up every morning dealing with the things that I have to deal with, wondering about what Donald Trump is concerned about for me, or Joe Biden, or anyone else, Governor Kemp, or the mayors of the various cities. I walk in and I look at the actual facts of what the grocery prices are. I look at the gas prices. I look at the millage rate. I look at taxes. I look at all of that. And that's ultimately something that is of concern. And I'm also concerned about the moral tenets of the country and where this nation is going. This nation that I'm raising now a baby boy in. What type of country will he be raised in? What will be its values? That's all a concern. So I think that there's a lot at play here, certainly. But to look at the sheer politics of what's going on right now, there are not those who believe that, that the court system is just, that the DAs are just, that the special counsel or the Justice Department is just.
Well, let's start right there. What about the Supreme Court? That is just. That is just. That
and there are
is
those
just.
that don't believe. And listen, I think if January 6th showed you anything, it showed you that there is a large swath of people out there that have no belief in government itself. So then why are they with a Trump? But then Trump doesn't believe in government. I mean, he didn't trust his generals, and he didn't trust his Central Intelligence and his intelligence reports. And he didn't go to the inauguration of Joe Biden. He held his own farewell at Andrews Air Force Base, and it was televised, and people attended it as though he was the elected president. He flew away like the president of the neo-Confederacy, as though he was still a legitimate president being deposed of his office, and that there was some kind of coup. In fact, there ideologically, that's what a large portion of this electorate is saying, that the January 20th election was a coup d'etat. And so Trump doesn't speak in government language, and though he will try to run again for elected office, he's really moving out of the mindset of this kind of respect for government. This is what Newt Gingrich called on the night of this indictment, that Donald Trump, he says, the mistake that people made. I sent that to you. I don't know if you got a chance to get a bit of that. Maybe at some point we can show that. But Newt Gingrich said that, and I don't know if he really meant to say this, because this sounded like I've been in enough strategy meetings and rooms where things were said, and you have too, that you didn't necessarily want to see put on a billboard or someone, But it seemed like he broadcast a kind of white anger, a kind of privilege, a kind of attack on a form of supremacy. It was almost like there was a hostile takeover, and they're fighting to stop this hostile takeover. This is what he said. He said that people make the mistake of thinking that Donald Trump is a candidate. He's not a candidate. He is the leader of, and he called it an ideological a movement that is a front. And we know that movement, we've seen the vestiges of those actors that are a part of that movement, and they certainly seem to be fighting with a ferocity, with a fierceness, I should say, that that appears to be extremely desperate. January the 6th seemed to be very desperate. The question is, what were they really trying to do? That didn't look like a party that had lost and said for 4 years, Joe Biden has to be in place. That looked like a fight to stop something that ultimately, if we don't stop it in 4 years, we might not have our privilege. We might not have our country. We might not have our narrative anymore. And so we got to stop what they're doing because they're trying to erase us. And that's what I think, plays into all of this. So you got folks talking in legal language, but Donald Trump is not talking in legal language.
Well, we know he's not talking in legal language.
The people who are following him don't trust the legal system. Well, they think that it's being used by the Biden administration to take him down. Well, and I hope we're able to talk. Go ahead.
And I hear that. I hear that over and over again. Weaponization of the Biden administration, the weaponization of this. Well, when Trump was in office, he used the Department of Justice.
I'm sure, of course, he did.
To weaponize. So I mean, I'm just saying it. Let me just make this point. I want to make this point. When Donald Trump, and you're right, he is a movement for the racism in this country. He is that movement for the racism in this country. When he talks about the people who were here in Fulton County, Georgia, in the courtroom, and he called them riggers. He called them riggers. He didn't put the N in there. He called them riggers. That is not, he might have well said the word because we read through what he was saying. I mean, so what we have is, and as someone said, Donald Trump, he has a bullhorn. He uses that bullhorn to spread hatred, to spread divisiveness, and to do what you just said is to fight for white superiority, for that we are always going to be in control. We're not going to give up the control, and we're going to say to you guys, we're going in this, we're going to fight, we're going to take this thing, we're going to take this vote, we're going to turn this vote over because I did lose, but I didn't lose, and we ain't going to lose because we're going to go in here and we're going to get Mike Pence to say that there's not, we're going to say to representatives or the state representatives and certain states, Georgia being one, as well as other states, hey, we're going to find our own electors to say that he won it. We're going to have Rudy Giuliani to talk about Ruby Freeman and talk about Ruby and her daughter, Shay, and he talks about them like there is nothing. I mean, he does, Rudy and Donald does. I mean, his whole thing is an attack and affront on black folks and people of other ethnicity, and that's a fact. And when you see this, you understand it is a movement. It is a movement to overturn, in Atlanta in particular, the home of Dr. Martin Luther King. This is where his stand is. This is where his fight is, and he is going to fight vigorously, and others are going to fight vigorously with him to turn back the hands of time. But we have to be watchful and see what's really going on and take the blinders off. And it's not politics here now. It's not politics, as you said. This is a movement. This is a movement to keep certain people in place. And then you have certain people like Mr. Kemp, Mr. Roxenberger, and certain people in other places value country over that. Now they may have some views of who they like and who they don't like, but they really want to keep the country, to keep it as a democracy versus a dictatorship. Trump whole thing is to become a dictator, and if he wins again, you might as well throw the Constitution away, because ain't nobody gonna believe in justice, and ain't nobody gonna believe in the court system, and ain't nobody gonna believe in the elections.
Well, let me say this. First, I don't believe that they are attempting, Mr. Ratzenberger and Kemp and others are trying to preserve a democracy, because they're throwing people off the voter rolls left and right. So I don't believe that at all. I believe that Trump's interest is not their interest, and so they're fighting Trump at the cause at the way that he is. But I think that's what we typically tend to do in the South, is we typically begin to see a lot of things from a racial standpoint. But when you move outside of the southern areas into the north and various other areas, you have to look at this thing, I think, a little bit more nuanced. I think racism is a big deal of this. I just talked about white supremacy and all of that playing into this. But let's not be confused that there are a good deal of black conservatives that agree with that might not necessarily agree with all of the antics of Donald Trump, but they do agree with him leading the party, or being able to get the party back into, not him leading the party. They think that he might be the best choice to get back to power, to begin to fight against what they argue is the over liberalization of the country, in terms of the various things that a liberal agenda begins to espouse. So we gotta bring that into. So I think that there's that he's leading a bunch of racists, but there are also a bunch of Latinos and a bunch of Asians and a bunch of blacks. In fact, R. Kelly's publicist and Kanye West's publicist, Travion, I believe.
What were you calling that? What? Kanye West?
Yeah,
Come on,
I believe.
man.
Yeah,
His publicist,
their
Kanye
publicist.
West. Kanye West,
Yeah,
who lost his mind. Come on, man.
Kanye West and R. Kelly and several other prominent people's athletes and whatnot. Their publicist is in the indictment. She's one of the 18 that came down here, I believe, to try to get Ruby and them to admit to whatever it was, or to cop some kind of plea as to what it was that they were trying to do. So, so this is not necessarily just Charlottesville, but there are a lot of people that are part of this movement that we would be shocked to see, and they're not necessarily Trump people. But however they can get the Republican Party back in power, they will absolutely do that.
Well, let me just say this: I see your point to a certain point, because everybody's like a drowning man. He grabs anybody, or a person that grabs anybody they can to keep from drowning, right? So that's why I see we are with this. I see Rudy Giuliani. You don't know where he is any day. I mean, really. And some of the others, time will tell, and history will long tell, like it did for Nixon and it did for others. It will soon tell the tale of who's right and who's wrong. But tonight, this is what we're going to do. We're going to say it like this. People judge based on what they feel and what they think. But at the end of the day, everyone wants to have a place to stay. They want to have food to eat. They want to have decent health care. They want to have quality education. And they want to know that they can live a life in this country where they're not harassed by certain people, whether it's the police, whether it's their neighbor, whomever it is, that they can live in peace and harmony here in this country. And Shanan,
and they also want to be able to parent their children and not have public education step in and begin to parent their children and overstep the values of the family. They also want to make sure that faith and the morals are still central to this country. That folks ain't just having a moment of silence, but that they're people of faith. So there's a whole balance to this thing, that goes along with those sheer basics of food, clothing, and shelter. There's some other things that folks don't like where this country is going morally, and I think that's something that we would be blind if we didn't look at that and say, with the civil rights agenda that we espouse, that you and I agree on, that there's that agenda, but then there's some other stuff that's been put into the soup, as it is, and where they feel that the country needs to be open to everybody. Surely, they don't want one agenda being the dominant agenda over another, and they don't want the government and to overstep its role, and to erode the rights of the family.
Well, I agree with that 100%. Being a minister, we know the moral fabric of this country is certainly decaying and declining. When you can't get a person to hold a door open for a person going in the store, that they'll let the door slam in somebody's face versus holding it. They'll drive, cut you off on the street when they see you trying to get over. All those kind of common courtesy things that we used to do, they don't do anymore because people don't care about people like they used to. But we're going to get ready to get out of here now. My back is bothering me. You see me keep fringing here because my back is bothering me a little bit tonight. And but I wanted to say to those of you who are watching Straight Talk, share with your neighbor, share with your friend, and don't forget Pastor DeWitt Smith. Keep him lifted in prayer and loss of his wife, his longtime wife, his companion, his soulmate. Keep him in prayer, won't you? And remember, you ain't been listening to nothing but what? Straight talk. Get out of the woods, Big Papa. Hey, don't forget to do as Cynthia say. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. And don't forget to make comments. And don't you forget to share. We'll see you next week right here on Straight Talk.
You got to bring this when you come, Bishop. You got to bring this by the bush, by the tree that I got for you. Bring you some more. Don't tell everybody. Ain't a lot of room out here. Don't tell everybody. They got to go find their own wood.
I won't tell nobody because you used to use Avon. Have a good week. See you next week.
You don't want to use Avon out here.
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Fann at FANN922@Comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shanan Jones and Greg Fann, the Preacher Man.